what's happening to tea prices and a couple of sales notes or a couple of research notes that have come out, and we'll get in Mr. Kamal Bharati's views on that. He joins us right now to speak about all that's happening with tea and with McLeod Russel. Good having you, Mr. Bharati. Thanks so much for taking the time out. Just wondering, the last that I checked with my commodities editor, she told me that tea prices in the latest auctions that happened, whenever they did, have inched up as well. And if I'm not wrong, you started off the year with a significant premium nevertheless. How do you expect the prices to move up, say, till December? Because typically, I believe, in winter months, tea prices tend to move up. And what is the kind of premium that you're enjoying at this point of time?
In fact, if you really look at very start of the season itself, when we had a lower inventory, we started with a gap of around 20 rupees per kilogram. And it carried on till September, October. And as you all know that there had been a lower production particularly in Assam. And towards the end of the season, which we will be closing our season by 15th of December, normally prices tend to come down because the general quality of the tea is little lower towards the end of the season. But what we had seen in this year in last couple of weeks, that the prices have gone up further by around 5 to 10 rupees. So as compared to last year on week basis, the gap has gone up to around 30 rupees per kilogram, which was 20 rupees till September, October end. And we have started with lower inventory, lower production this year, higher consumption. We'll be ending the year with lower inventory than what we started at the very beginning of the season itself. And that augurs very well for the prices. We believe the prices should really continue to be upward trend till December, January when we end our season on production. But what actually brings in basically because of the lower inventory at the close of the season, the opening prices next season sometime in March, April should be much, much higher. So it looks like that not only this year, but for coming few years, the prices should continue to be very strong.
Yeah. Okay. So, there is something that I want to ask you about how the production and the net impact would be. But since you brought about the prices for the next few years, there's an expectation that for you, because of the lower inventory, that your realizations for you as a company itself, for FY13, they could be up by 10%. In fact, people have even forecasted how the realizations could move up another 5 to 10% in FY14 as well. Is that a realistic estimate, you think?
Yeah, in fact, this year we are looking at around 15% increase in the prices. We averaged at around 150 rupees last year and we're looking at around 175 this year. So we should be able to really do it, and 80-90% of our production has already been sold. So as far as FY13 is concerned, I think the price increase is already there in the price, and it should really happen. And a 5-10% increase in next year is very, very much doable, particularly looking at the overall inventory situation and also the production which has happened in this year. So yes, I think whatever the notes which has come or whatever the talk about strong prices into the next year as well should actually happen.
Right. What would that do for the outlook that you have on margins, essentially, with the uptick in prices?
See, this has been one of the year where the cost increase has been the maximum. If you all remember, there had been a wage revision effective 1st January 2012, which actually increased by around 15-16%. And the total 50% of our total cost is actually wage and wage related cost. So this year had been a year where there had been lower production, actually taking the cost up, plus the wage revision, which has taken the overall cost higher by around 17-18 rupees, whereas the price increase is going to be 25-26 rupees. So the margin will increase from 25% to around 26-27%. But next year actually takes very minimal increase in the wages because of the agreement which has been signed, which is only 5-6%. And with 5-10% increase in prices, we expect the margin from 25-26%, which is likely to be this year, to actually go up to 27-28% on higher volumes with recovery of the production next year. So yes, margins should improve with higher prices, with much lower increase in cost, at least in next year. This year we have taken care of the maximum increase in the cost into account.
Okay, so which brings me now to my next question. Given the fact that Assam has been impacted and your domestic tea production, I believe, would be impacted by virtue of the production being lower, would you still stand to gain on the net basis by virtue of the fact that prices have moved up, as you said, almost around 15 bips or almost 15% higher?
Yeah, in fact, we should be able to do on per kg basis on margin better this year. As far as volume in India is concerned, our own crop will be lower this year. But thanks to the price increase, which is higher not only to take care of the crop loss in the cost increase, margins should improve, top line should be higher, and we expect at least 10% growth in the bottom line as well, standalone India. But more than that, I think our overseas operations will do better. We are looking at a similar kind of a production from the overseas operations and with a higher prices and higher margins. So overall, on a consolidated basis, we are looking at a better year as compared to last year, taking into account the crop loss and the cost increase which has happened.
Yeah, I think everybody is fairly happy with, at least the analyst community, about your moves earlier, Mr. Baheti, to acquire tea gardens in Africa and Vietnam. The question mark really is, there is also a point being brought out that if indeed, should you decide as a company to re-leverage your balance sheet and acquire more assets abroad, it will also have a balance sheet impact wherein the return ratios improve favorably. Without getting into that and the details of that, is there a thought process within the company to probably even go ahead and acquire more tea gardens abroad over the next 6 months?
Yeah, as a strategy, a company will be looking at more acquisitions